Woohoo! 6 o'clock. Looks like we're live. All right, everybody, we're about to get started with Mr. Andy Hicks, and we are going to, oh, there he is, prompt as always. He is waving at me, so I'm going to go ahead and approve his request to join this conversation. Go live with Andy Hicks Guitars. Yes, that sounds great. All right. Andy, hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. Great to see you.
Yeah, good seeing you.
Yeah, you know, this is so much fun. I've done YouTube things before, but never an Instagram Live. So
Right.
I'm very excited to do this, and I appreciate you coming out and doing it with us.
Oh yeah.
How's the volume? Can you hear us okay here?
Yeah, I can hear everything.
Awesome.
Sounds
Good. All right. Let's see. So you got the friend there in the back there.
Yeah.
Nice.
What are you trying? Let's not do that.
All right.
That's quarantine life right now.
That's awesome. I want to hang out with Dad. It's
Yeah.
a great time to do it. Everybody's home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, you know, I know we had a few things we wanted to, or we discussed about talking about during this Instagram Live session, but I was going to, I have one question that I've pretty much been asking people, and I figure I'll throw it out at you too. What do you think at this point, considering where we are in 2020 right now, do you think we're going to have it? There will be a NAMM 2021 convention?
I mean, that's a lot of money on the table for even the convention, and not, you know, I'm sure they're really motivated to have it go still. So, I mean, I know that if I was anybody who's not producing right now is going to be behind for their NAMM, you know, getting their NAMM stuff going. So like Xotic's not producing right now, and we had scheduled the beginning of our NAMM production to be basically right now or last month. So I'm sure that it'll still happen, but it's going to be different.
Yeah, it's kind of, it sounds like it's so far away, but I say that every year, and then it's around the corner. And it's like, I don't even exhibit, I just go.
Yeah. I mean, if you go to NAMM to see it, it seems far away, but if you build for NAMM, it sounds close.
Yeah.
You know?
I know I can't imagine them not having it. If there's any way to have it, I think they're going to have it. But
I think there'll be something. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, I just wanted to get your take. I know we didn't really.
I don't
heads up on that.
I don't have any actual information from NAMM or from any of the big brands, but I'm just thinking myself, like, if I'm having to produce, you know, with a smaller build capacity just to get my regular orders out, and I'm also building NAMM on top of that, like it has to be different.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we'll all find out together probably as the months come up. So, again, Andy, I want to thank you for joining us. For those of you, I know as people are joining in, I'm sure most of them are familiar with your work, but for anybody who is not familiar with Andy, he participated in the Apprentice Masterbuilder program at Fender Custom Shop before being asked to be the Master Builder at Xotic Guitars. And
specifically, if I can hop in real quick.
Yeah, please.
It was apprenticing for Gretsch, which was licensed. So I was still in the Fender Custom Shop, but it was specifically with Gretsch.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I did. Cool.
And there's Austin hopping on, so.
All right. I figured we might see him, and
yeah.
I know Josh chimed in with a question to ask you.
Oh,
he really wanted me to grill you, but I said no, it's just not appropriate for Instagram Live. So.
We're all struggling enough right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cool. What I'm gonna do, if you don't mind, is I will go ahead and ask you a few questions that have come up. That the way this all started is a lot of times I'm not a builder myself, but I know a lot of builders, and
right.
I'm kind of in the forums, and it seems to be a topic of interest. A lot of people build in their garage or as an amateur, but they want to make that leap to being paid for it, and they want to know how to do it. You know, you don't. It's not like I imagine it's not like you know, Kevin Costner said, just build it and it will come, right? You have to make some career strategic decisions, I imagine.
Yeah, in my experience, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, one thing that people do or have asked, or I see it's a topic on a lot of forum threads. They ask if is it worth it or not to go to a guitar building school?
Right. I mean, so there's a couple of things you get out of the school. You know, on the one hand, with so much information online and YouTube being what it is, you can build really nice guitars without much training. And I see that a lot. But what I got out of the school, and what I know some other people who are in the industry got out of going to a school, either like, I went to MI, but there's other schools, is learning some of the tricks or the little nuances that are going to help you get a better job at a manufacturer or move out of the entry-level job a little quicker. So like, for example, again, in my case, instead of coming in as like an entry-level sander, either for paint or for wood, which happens a lot, I came in doing all the fret work for the Jackson Custom Shop.
Oh.
And the only reason I was able to do that was because I had really good fret work technique drilled into me at school, and then through the school also made some connections with people in the industry, and they liked my work, and they were just like, well, we always need a good fret guy, so you won't give it a shot. And instead of getting stuck on an orbital sander for 8 hours a day, I was already in the custom shop day one.
Oh, wow. So, okay. See, that was something I was going to ask you, because I was wondering, I imagine a lot of people feel like they're going to be doing kind of high level stuff as soon as they're hired. But I've heard it's a lot of sanding at first. I mean, the stuff that's not necessarily the most intellectually challenging or fun.
It doesn't matter where you are. So if you're at someplace like Fender or Gibson, which are, really big companies with hundreds of employees, or someplace small like Xotic, still like the most of the work is sanding. You just have to, you have to, finish sanding the wood. You have to sand multiple layers of finishes, and then there's buffing involved, and frets have sanding. Everything has sanding. And you can remove a lot of material really quick, and then you get down to the last 1% that you have to do to make it feel right, and that's all sanding. And so there's most of the jobs everywhere are sanding. So everybody wants to get in and do something really cool right away, but I was lucky to not have to do it. But I know a lot of guys who came in and just were sanders for a long time.
Well, this may be a dumb question, but is there more to sanding than just, it's more than just like grunt work. I imagine there's technique, and you can certainly ruin an instrument by sanding it poorly or too much, I imagine would be the big problem.
Yeah, it just depends on what stage of the sanding you're doing. There's definitely, if you're finish sanding a neck, you might need to have a little bit more finesse and technique. But if you're, doing, if you're taking an orbital to a Telecaster, to get some of that first layer of paint off, that can be grunt work. And I'm sure it starts to feel like grunt work.
Gotcha. I guess that's where a lot of people probably get their start at, huh?
A lot of sanding, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, speaking of like amateur builders, I know that amateur builders have the luxury, or people that don't work for a factory or someone who has to crank out product. Amateur builders have the luxury of kind of working on projects that appeal to them. Woods they like, instruments they like, builds they like, the speed they like. But you know, once you get into, I imagine there's a certain tipping point where you're working with a team of people that might involve accountants, salespeople. Like when you get so many people involved in the build process in terms of what you are going to be making, like I imagine sometimes there can be too many cooks in the kitchen, and what are those dynamics like when you want to do something as a builder, but the accountants say, no, we're going in a different direction.
It can be frustrating. That definitely happens. You get, especially, we were just talking about NAMM earlier. When I was at Fender, there's they're big and they put on a great NAMM show, but you get to that part where the core group of builders, they have the idea of what they want to build, but then you have to talk to your brand managers, and they've got their ideas because they're trying to make the dealers happy at NAMM, and the dealers are trying to think of things that are going to bring people into their shop, or things so you get lots of perspective, and I find it to be a fun challenge. It's not, when you get it done and everybody's happy, and then you feel like you did a good job. But it's definitely different when you're doing it yourself, and every guitar you make is like basically a dream guitar of yours.
Have you ever personally had to work on and I don't know if actually this would apply to anything that you've done before, but I'm thinking, I guess this might be more for people who do, what's the word when you kind of ghost build? It's kind of a nasty way to say it, not ghost build, but like if you're doing someone else's brand, basically work for someone else. Have you ever been in a position where you had to do something or make something that you just weren't feeling?
Yeah, that happens.
Gotcha.
Where you get some weird finishes that they want, or weird pickup combinations, and you're just like, I already think that this is not going to work out the way you think it is. But I try not to think of the guitars that I'm making as ever really belonging to me. I mean, I'm making something for somebody else, and if it ends up being what they want, this Gunner, then
hey Gunner.
he turned 4 the other day. So
I was going to say, how old is he? Okay.
He's 4. Yeah.
Four's a great age.
Yeah. It's somebody else's guitar, and in a sense, they're the boss. So if it's their dream guitar, like, who am I to say that that's not, cool guitar? I personally might not miss it once it leaves the shop, but
right.
Yeah, that's kind of the mindset you have to have, is that it's somebody else's, and you're making it for them.
Okay, I can imagine that would take some of the emotion out of it.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I mean, I can be really passionate about, thinking about the time that the person's going to finally get that case in the mail, and they're going to open it up, and if it's everything they want, then I'm happy. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, have you ever delved? It seems like whenever we talk, it's always in the context of electric guitar builds. But have you ever delved into acoustic luthiery yourself?
Not really. I mean, so initially when I was going to MI, I wanted to do. I was signed up to do both programs. So I was going to do my electric program first, and then do the acoustic program. But I finished the electric program and got a job offer like almost the same day.
Okay.
And so it was kind of one of those things where it's like, thank you. I'm like, I could spend a bunch of money to keep learning, or I could get paid to keep learning. Yeah. And I didn't necessarily learn some of the acoustic stuff I wanted, but I mean, my career path was crash course in electric building and problem solving electric guitars, and yeah, it's been great.
Well, I imagine that's like a college athlete, who gets drafted into the NFL, doesn't play his senior year. It's kind of disappointing, but like that's what you're really, there for, right?
Exactly.
Get a job offer at the major leagues. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everybody, that's better to get paid to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. How did you end up I wanted to talk a little bit about how you got, and obviously you touched on how you got your first job, which I presume was with Fender, right out of MI. But how did you get brought on to be master builder at Xotic?
Well, I had been at Fender for almost 10 years, and I was loving it, but I needed a new challenge. I kind of felt like I was becoming stagnant, and I was just looking around at other builders, and they have, I follow a bunch of builders and manufacturers online on, Instagram makes that really easy. And I saw that they had a job post for their lead builder and manager, production manager. And I thought that sounds like a really cool challenge to take try something different. I was with like the big boy, right? Fender's the major leagues.
Right.
And it was cool to go from that, where everything has already been done for 100 years. Like it's big and you've got a lot of power, but it moves slow, to go to Xotic, where, they're small. Our production team at Xotic was 5 people.
Okay.
So, and they had 2 models when I first got there. So it was really cool to be able to help, move that company in a direction that I sort of how I saw it.
It's interesting that you say that, because I remember I was not all that familiar with Xotic a few years ago, and I started to hear them come up time and time again on forums, and people were asking about them, and they would have pictures, because you guys are pretty good with the social media,
Right.
And everybody was like, oh, a lot of people didn't seem to know, they weren't sure at first whether it was being made in California here or not, or
Right.
It seemed like out of nowhere they were building these great guitars, and interesting that dovetails with the time that you kind of joined there. So that makes sense, actually, in retrospect.
Yeah, it was a really cool time to join. We were, and what we did in the year and a half that I was there was really cool.
Great. Well, now before you actually went to Xotic, you were in the Apprentice Masterbuilder program at the Fender Custom Shop for Gretsch. You mentioned. And what kind of learning opportunities presented themselves there that you wouldn't have necessarily got at a different builder, smaller builder? I mean, was there any particular things that jump out at you?
Sorry, 1 second.
No, no problem.
Can you not yell into the cup? Sorry, my son's having a snack in front of me. So what was your question? Sorry about that.
No, I just wanted to say, were there any opportunities that presented themselves when you were in the Apprentice Masterbuilder program at Fender Custom Shop? Anything in particular that you say, wow, this would not have happened somewhere else?
Yeah, well, Gretsch was so cool because, I'd been at Fender for a while without even really knowing what was going on at Gretsch. Gretsch is tucked away in the Fender Custom Shop. It's not part of the tour. It's not on the main floor. And even though I'd been there a while, I had never really seen the shop. And every other production team at Fender kind of operates in a similar way, where you have, lots of CNC operation, and then lots of hand finishing of the things. And then this opportunity came for me to leave the Jackson Custom Shop and go apprentice for Steve Stern at Gretsch. And I went to interview with him, and I checked out his shop upstairs above Custom Shop. And it was not it's like this hidden gem inside Fender. It looks like a garage. There's just a bunch of hand tools and machines, that there's no CNC.
Oh, really?
No CNC, big, nice wood stockpile. And I'm talking to him about this, and I'm like, so how does this all, when does this stop being so cool? And he's like, no, there's 5 guys here, and we build it all by hand. And that opportunity to learn in that kind of environment from somebody like him would not have happened really anywhere else in that shop. That was really unique to Gretsch.
Wow, yeah, I imagine that must have been very special, because you have the resources of a Fender,
Yes.
But yet you have the small shop, custom shop of a Gretsch. And it's every time someone mentions Gretsch being part of Fender, I always forget that it is until someone mentions it. I know it is, but then I forget about it.
Well, they are and they aren't, because unlike Jackson and EVH and Charvel, it's not owned by Fender. It's only licensed through Fender. So Gretsch is still its own company, and then the guitars are just licensed. They have a licensing with Fender. That's partly why we were able to do things so differently there, because part of that Gretsch vibe that they wanted was hand built as much as possible. I mean, really, at Gretsch was to do the inlay, the intricate inlay on the fingerboards and the headstocks, to cut the F holes on the arch top. That was just and then to do the semi-hollow chambering in the bodies for the like the penguins and the duo jets, and that was really just a safety. It's not it's just safer to do it on the CNC.
I could see that. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Interesting. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to ask you.
Ben just joined. Yeah, Ben's a cool guy. He's the lead painter at Xotic.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, hello, Ben. Thank you for joining us. I give him a wave on our end here too.
Yeah.
And who are some of your important? Were there any particular like mentors that you had on your way? I know you'd mentioned Steve Stern.
To start off at MI, Joshua Contreras and Dave Maddox were really big, really helpful to me. Josh was running the program at the time, and he was great. And then Dave Maddox has been in the industry a long time. He'd been at Fender for a long time. And I basically just went to him while I was at MI. I was like, how do I get to Fender? And he helped me, he guided me through that process. And then once I got to Jackson, Mike Shannon was the master builder at Jackson. He was really knowledgeable and really enjoyed sharing that knowledge. I was fortunate to never work with a lot of gatekeepers. Everybody always was happy to share what they knew, and then I tried to do that too as I grew up. But Adam Ehrig was the manager of Jackson, and he was a great mentor, like helping me with like the business side of it, how to take care of myself business wise, and not building. And he was really instrumental in me figuring out a path from fret dressing to apprenticing in such a short time. And yeah,
it's interesting that you bring that up. That people are, you didn't run into many gatekeepers, and I found that to be true in the building industry in general. Like it's you think companies are competitors, but the amount of information sharing that goes on between companies that are technically competitors is pretty amazing. I don't see that in other industries. In other industries, it's pretty cutthroat, and people will step on each other to whenever they can. But in the building industry, it's really nice. I mean, it's cool. I don't know why that is, but I hope it has something to do with the people in it.
Yeah, it seems like if you actually know what you're doing and you have a passion, interest in it, people are willing to share with you. Anybody who wants to hoard their information, it's almost it's a red flag to me that they probably don't have that much stuff to hoard anyway.
Makes sense. Okay, fair enough. Now I know when you were at Xotic, you introduced a couple we worked actually, full disclosure, we worked together on a couple of Empress wood models that were well received at NAMM.
They were very well received.
Yeah, it was that was awesome, and I was blown away at the weight. I mean, I feel how light the wood is to begin with, but then to see, with all the hardware on it and the strings, and it's still they felt like such great instruments. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, is the instrument weight like the primary draw of an Empress wood instrument? I just wonder what kind of feedback you get from dealers, or you.
Yeah, well, initially that was the draw for me. I liked the look of the wood, and the weight of it blew me away. And it was like, well, for NAMM, we can do one of these things. And worst case scenario, it's a cool showpiece. It's a guitar that weighs so little and has a great vintage look to it. But then we finished that one, and we worked really hard to make sure that it sounded good. And I was blown away by how resonant it was. It had some real Telecaster like punch and snap to it, which I've heard does not always happen with an Empress wood guitar. I know that some other manufacturers have had problems with Empress wood. We got really good feedback on it. I think the ones we made sounded really good. Our dealers were really happy. But yeah, initially the big draw for that was the weight. I believe the dealer that bought it, bought the NAMM guitar, bought it without playing it, just because he picked it up and was like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe how light this is and how cool it looks. So let's do it.
Wow. Okay.
Well,
I'd say that's a pretty good case for the weight. Then you didn't even plug it in. So
right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, son.
Now, I had heard, and actually not even heard, but I've actually seen on your Instagram page that you actually play in a couple bands yourself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you want to talk about those your bands a little bit?
I do. Yeah. The main band I'm in right now is this cool. I'll wait for the kids to stop screaming.
Yeah, no problem.
It's like a classic doom band, so it's in the same vein as like Candlemass or Black Sabbath, or like a more contemporary band that we're sort of like would be Solitude Aeturnus. So it's got clean, classically trained vocals, and really just epic big riffs with powerful drums. We tune down to B, so it's all real heavy, real low, and we add a little. We call our specific brand of this like a candle thrower sound. So it's like Candlemass meets death metal legend Bolt Thrower.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. One of the questions I was going to ask you is, well, do you have any gigs coming up? But clearly nobody has any gigs coming up.
We had a lot of gigs coming up. Here, buddy. Here, take this. Okay. We had a lot of gigs coming up. Luckily, nothing's been canceled. Everything's just been postponed towards either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And so we've got some festivals in Germany and Greece on the books. We've got we've got a festival in Chicago. And if anybody wants to check out the band, he wants his daddy. Okay. If anybody wants to check out the band, the band name is Stygian Crown, and they can find us on at stygiancrown.bandcamp.
Okay.
And that would be the best place. Our brand new record is being released by Cruz del Sur Records, and it's coming out digitally June 19th, and it'll be on CD and vinyl the following week.
Oh, awesome. Cool. That's right around the corner. Cool.
Yeah. What's up, bud? I'll help you with that in just a minute, okay?
Well, I know that you have things going on, and I won't hold you up too much, but I know that this is completely off topic, but
oh yeah,
I can't help. I couldn't help but notice that your wife has a very, very cool Instagram page, and I did not know that Chandra does baking. It sounds like competitive baking.
Yeah, I can introduce you. You want to talk to her real quick about it? She's
great. That would, if she's free, that'd be awesome.
Bring her over here. Here, 1 second.
Now, to say Chandra does baking is a bit of an understatement. Here she is on Tiny Food Fight on the Food Network's Facebook page. You can see her right there in the yellow. There she is.
This is my wife, Chandra.
Chandra, hello. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Fabulous designer at Mattel, but I love her baking.
Yeah, you do some phenomenal phenomenal work I saw on your Instagram.
Thank you.
What you had? It looked like you're involved in a. Is it a Facebook competition?
Yeah, I actually did 2 competitions. The first one I did back in November was for Food Network. It was called Thanksgiving Pie Fight. And then just recently they launched another show called Tiny Food Fight on Facebook, and I competed on that as well.
Okay, awesome. And I guess obviously they haven't aired yet though.
Both of them have aired, yeah.
Okay, how did you do then? I didn't want to spoil it if.
I did not win either of them.
Okay, all right, well, good. But that's really impressive. I imagine. Do you? I was curious. Do you take specific orders, or basically when I'm looking at your Instagram, are those like cookies that are you doing those for fun, or are you doing them for other people? You're just taking pictures on the way out.
They're mostly just for fun. They're just for my friends and family and special events. I have a full-time job as a toy designer, so it's something that I get to do for myself after hours.
Awesome, cool. What kind of? I got to ask now. What kind of toys do you work on? Well,
I actually designed Barbie for just about 12 years, and then recently I moved over to action figures. So now I'm working on Jurassic World and Minecraft.
Oh wow, that's really cool. That's a transition from Barbie to action figures.
Yeah.
But I guess everybody's that sounds like it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you and Andy both taking out some time in your day. I know that your son was obviously craving some attention, so I appreciate you carving out some time and letting us talk to both of you. I do appreciate it.
Of course.
Do you have any plans for Mother's Day?
Stay home.
Yeah, I guess. I ask that out of habit, but you know what? We're all staying home. Who am I kidding? I still ask people, hey, what are you doing today? Huh? Staying home, just like yesterday in the last 45 days. So.
Yeah, we're in a different room.
Gotcha. There you go. Well, enjoy, and again, really appreciate your time. And
yeah, thank you so much, Steve. It was great talking to you again.
Yeah, my pleasure. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always here.
Awesome.
At least for now.
Likewise. Well, you know where we're at too. So.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you. We'll be in touch.
It's good seeing you, Steve.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.